All right, welcome to this week's Points and Miles report here on Traveling on Everyday Spend. We really have a lot of information to go over, a lot of credit card bonuses and some surprise ones that have popped back up for us to take advantage of. And we definitely have a lot of news to talk about. So I'm not going to hold you up at all. Let's just jump right on into it. And right here. All right. Now, as far as the credit card offers, we are looking at American Express, obviously the Delta Sky Miles and the cards, both on the personal and the business side, have popped back up. And we've got a long time for it. So we have all the way through October 29th. So no rush for it. Take your time to figure it out if it is best for you on any of those cards. And then, but the two things I would want to mention to you is the Marriott Bonvoy Bevy and the Brilliant. Those cards are going to end theirs on September 24th. So I know there's a lot to think about when you're looking at the Marriott cards, especially if you're considering going after the Ritz-Carlton card, then you really might have to bypass these cards with American Express to focus on Chase. So definitely make sure to have that in mind so that you know that you're not going to end up messing up your potential strategy for getting a Ritz-Carlton card. Bank of America, we obviously have the Alaska credit cards, both the personal, business, and the premium cards. Nothing's changed with those bonuses. We don't have any deadlines as of yet, so steady as she goes. I think they've had a very good rollout of those cards, and I don't think we're going to see that kind of herky-jerky thing we saw with the Sapphire Reserve of trying to find the right sweet spot of having a welcome bonus. And then Capital One, we still have the cards with the student as well as the entry level cards, Venture One, Quicksilver, and Saver cards. Now, when we get to Chase, we do have a lot going on with them. We still have the Chase Sapphire cards, both preferred, reserve, and reserve business, still where they're at. Now, the Southwest cards, though, that we now know that that end date is going to be September 18th. So if you have any interest in that 100,000 points on any of those cards, you're going to have to pull the trigger in this upcoming week on that. So make sure to take a look and see how that fits in your overall strategy for the cards. And then we also have the IHG cards, both personal and business. So the business can go up to 200,000 points, and then we still have the Premier that is going to be at 165,000. I've said constantly that I'm really love the IHG Premier card, really for everyday type of getting benefits from that card. And only at less than $100. So something for that one. Now, I do need to mention something when it comes to the Avios cards, because there's two different. We saw this last time when there was an elevated offer through Chase, that we also saw an elevated offer overall that was outside of Chase. So, like we saw before, the Aer Lingus, Iberia, and the British Airways cards are now at 85,000 Avios for $5,000 in spend in the first 3 months. That is your first option. Your second option is there is a separate link that is outside of Chase that is for 100,000 points or Avios for all three of the cards. And that is going to require a $7,500 spend, but you do have 6 months to be able to meet it. So that if you are going to look at any of the Avios cards, definitely try to factor in what that your return is going to be on whatever spend you're going to choose, and if you want to go for the 3 month or the 6 month, and what that 15,000 Avios will mean or not mean to you. So that is something to look at. I will of course have the link for the 100,000 mile, not a referral link of mine or of anything, but just want to make sure you have that as an option. Ink Business Cash and Ink Business Unlimited has come back now with their best offer that we've seen, which is the $900 cash back for $6,000 spend in the first 3 months. Or if you have one of the Sapphire cards on the personal side, or the one business card preferred, I believe, I mixed these up, can be one where you convert it to points for membership for their ultimate reward points. So that $900 cash back can be 90,000 points. Big lover of the Ink Business Cash. The two biggest things that you can get from that card, in my opinion, is going to be strong when it comes to a couple of utilities, the phone, a cellular phone, getting it at 5% or 5 points per dollar. And then, of course, if you are looking at being able to get gift cards, you can look at that because they have 5% or 5 points per dollar at office supply stores. And as you all may know, office supply stores has Staples, for example, or Office Max have a lot of different options of gift cards. So you can look at that as well. And you can even look at the regular Visa and MasterCard. The one thing you have to be careful with that, though, is there's normally a fee to kind of start the card, but there is a rotation that essentially happens between the Visa and the MasterCards almost every week, where one of them will normally be where they will waive that initial fee, which now makes it a zero cost to get the gift card when it's a Visa or a MasterCard. So just something to kind of keep up with if you look for that. But there's a lot of mileage to get through with that. So I throw that out there. And don't be, if you're a person that does not have any business credit cards, don't necessarily fear them. It is something I'm going to talk about during the points mastery series that I'll be doing in the next couple weeks. But as long as you've got your personal side credit in good shape, and let's just say that you have an idea for a potential business that you want to make money at, that it can normally be enough. And those cards, although Chase has been a little bit tighter with it, might be something to look at. So also on the business side, we also have the United Club Business and the United Business Cards. That we have plenty of time on those as well. We have all the way till November 5th. So once again, you can determine if those are going to be airline cards that are of interest. And then what you also will have is we've covered that. We've got those IHG cards already covered. For Citi, we still have the Elite, the Citi Strata, and the Citi Strata Elite, as well as the Citi Advantage cards. On Barclays, we do now have the Hawaiian Airlines MasterCard at the 80,000 mile mark. And that was one I mentioned before where I was mentioning the promo that was being done if you flew. I didn't know if they would really come back and raise this up again. This may be the last time. So, but it's just started. So that is still available, as well as the JetBlue program is still available as well. So that's what we have for that. Now, as far as transfer bonuses, what we have is we're going to have Amex with Hilton at 25%, which ends on September 23rd. We have the Virgin Red through Capital One at 30%, which ends October 1st. Chase has Air France KLM at 20%, ending September 30th. And then Citi has Wyndham for 25%, ending September 20th. Now, the one thing I'll keep that actually for a little bit later. I was actually going to say something, but we're going to keep it for a bit. Now, as far as the points and miles opportunities, as I always say, we're basically going to focus on the ones that just started or just ended, but I will make sure to pack as much as I can in the description of different links that are still different offers and points and mile opportunities that are there. So I always encourage you to take a look at that. So for IHG, ending September 16th is 15% off of awards days. Now, you don't have any registration that is required. You do have to check in by November 19th. And unfortunately, it is not stackable with the fourth night free on points. So you have to make sure you do your math on that to see which one is going to be the best option for you. Virgin Atlantic, you can buy points with an up to 70% bonus. That is going to run through October 12th. And you can purchase up to 125,000 miles. Well, 125,000 miles or more will get you 70%, which will bring you to 1.48 cents per point. Once again, as I always say, that's just a baseline. You will determine the value of what those points are with your redemption. And then KLM Flying Blue, that's going to be ending this week on September 17th. That's up to 45% discount if you're looking at buying points through them. And then you'll end up having Wyndham. Now you can buy points with an up to 90% bonus. I do have to warn you though, you may end up finding out that the Wyndham numbers will vary. It's a targeted type of offer. Everybody will get it if you're a member, get a value, but you may not get the 90%. You'll have to check to see what that looks like. But at 90%, and you only need to purchase 3,000 points to trigger it, that's down to 0.68 cents per point, which is normally, quote unquote, a good value. There is a 100,000 point limit per year. Now, I normally do mention about Vacasa being an excellent redemption option for Wyndham. I do want to put this out, though, that there's been a recent change where the Vacasa reservations can no longer be more than 6 months in advance. That can be a significant change for a lot of people where you would normally want to get out ahead as much as you can. So keep that in mind. Choice, you can buy points with an up to 45% discount. That's available. JetBlue, you can buy points, and this goes all the way through October 28th, up to 130% bonus, and that triggers at the 10,000 mile mark up through 130,000 miles. IHG through tomorrow will have buy points with an up to 100% bonus. In this particular promotion, you can purchase up to 200,000 points before the bonus for this promotion. And so the one thing you want to keep in mind with it, 100% is good, but it is one that they do run periodically. So don't feel like you have to try to buy anything up and stash them, because we'll talk about that in a bit as well. Avianca, buy miles for up to 155% bonus. That's going to run through September 29th. Very versatile airline mile currency. But once again, 155% sounds good, but they do have this come up periodically. So don't feel like, once again, that you have to jump all over it. British Airways, you can buy Avios for up to a 40% bonus. That ends September 17th. And that'll be available for you as well. And then as we look at some of the quick notes that we've got, let's start with Rakuten. Now, if you've dealt with Rakuten or looked at it before, normally when you're looking at referral bonuses, you have $10 if you get no referral. And then it's normally been between $30 to $40 with a referral. Now it's $50, so the referrer gets $50 and the new member gets $50, which is the best we've seen on it. $50 does make a difference, so I encourage you to take a look at that if there's interest in Rakuten. Now, when it comes to the Strata Elite, this gets credited to Doctor of Credit and Reddit as well, is reporting that many Citi Strata Elite cardholders are being locked out of their account and being required to provide a 4506C. Now, that is for a federal tax transcript, which we've seen where American Express will do that when they are looking to verify your income. Now, as they talked about, they initially had said that they thought it was related to just when you were going in to get that 100,000 point bonus initially, and thought it might have been just them. But data points are now showing that that is not just the ones that they're doing. And so this is coming up a lot. So if you did get the Citi Strata Elite, just make sure that you're good with whatever dollar figure that you put in for your income so that there's not an issue with that. And I'll also talk about kind of people, entities kind of checking dollars or paperwork on a couple of other items that we're going to talk about today. But I wanted to make sure that you're aware of that, or if you're looking to apply for it. So that is the thing to keep in mind with that. And then we have the Venture X. If you have the business card, you probably have already found out that the restaurant access under Priority Pass will end on October 31st. There is some things you're going to need to do, though, because you won't automatically be re-enrolled into Priority Pass. You will need to do that yourself to avoid any interruption. So cardholders are already receiving notifications and instructions. So don't let it get too late where you end up not having your Priority Pass. And once this happens on October 31st. So be sure to keep that in mind and look out for the paperwork. This one is an interesting one. I've not seen this before, and I'll be curious if you all have seen this before. So the Thompson Miami Beach was set to open next month in October, but all of a sudden, and they were going to be affiliated with Hyatt, of course, most Thompsons are. So, but they are no longer going to be affiliated with Hyatt. Now, people have put in their reservations already for a lot of this. And so find it pretty interesting of how this happened. We don't know what exactly happened on this. Hyatt's not releasing any information. So what people are having to do right now is if you booked on money, you're already getting notifications that your reservation is canceled. If you did it on Hyatt points, you're going to need to make sure you reach out to Hyatt so that your points can be refunded back to you. And so the hotel will not open in October right now. And I'm assuming that they're going to have to find who they are going to be affiliated with. And I'm assuming that's not going to be a very quick process. Definitely not something I've seen on a hotel that is set to open within essentially 30 days. I'll be curious if you all have seen something like this, just something that really surprises me a lot for that. So let's touch on some of the news that we've got. And the first thing I'm going to start off with is Alaska. Now, Alaska has an order that's been out there for a bit for Boeings. And they originally for, I think, 13 787-9s. Now they have converted some of those to 787-10s. Now, I will give you a little bit of information on these two. I am not a big airplane aficionado of knowing these, but I thought it was interesting, and it shows how Alaska is really doubling down on their commitment to this long haul business. So the 787-10 is Boeing's largest airplane. And like I mentioned, said before, they revised their order to get some 787-10s. Hawaiian already has 4 787-9s. And this is, once again, a clear commitment to that long-haul flight campaign. Now, Hawaiian launched flights from Seattle to Narita in May. Or I'm sorry, actually, I believe Alaska did, actually. Now, Seoul starts this month, which they're running promotions on. And then in May of 2026, they're going to be going to Rome and Keflavik in Iceland, and then to London Heathrow in spring of 2026. Now, their goal is to get to 12 routes by 2030. Now, they're going to base these 787s out of Seattle, is what they're going to end up doing. Now, the 787-10 versus the 9, you basically get 40 more seats on that plane. And you have, but the biggest thing for them as well is they have lower operating cost per passenger. Now, what do they lose on this? Well, they lose the capacity of how far that plane can go without refueling. They lose about 1,400 miles capacity versus the 787-9. But to me, it just really shows that they expect some significant patronage on their flights to these long haul ones, regardless of the location. Now, as far as the Chase Freedom Flex, this credit goes to the points guy, where he's reporting that there's a promotion that appears to be only for Freedom Flex cardholders. Now, I've not seen this email so far, but what it is there's no activation required, and make sure that if you have the Freedom Flex that you keep an eye out for it. The period of the promotion is from September 1st through November 30th. And what it is that you will get an additional 0.5% cash back for each dollar of your next $2,500 in purchases after you spend $1,000 on that. Then what they'll end up doing is once you trigger that, then you will get an additional 1% cash back for each dollar on your next $2,500 in purchases once you have spent $4,000 between September 1st and 11th and November 30th. Now, I would end up saying that it clearly is a very straightforward deal, The problem that probably comes with this is the opportunity cost. That's a lot of money to be spending on the card once, because keep in mind, nothing is changing where that 5% ends up going. So we're going to obviously end up switching in October to the Q4. So if you were even looking at this, you really are going to have to be strategic on it, that you are really going to spend it in the 5% categories or 5-point categories on this. Now, there was not in this Q3, there wasn't that bonus category that we've seen in previous quarters. We will likely see a pop-up one come up for Q4, but you'll have to keep an eye out for it. Uh, Once again, it's a lot of spend for not too much, even though it's straightforward. So definitely, probably well, not definitely, probably, definitely, you could get some better bang for your buck if you were looking at potential welcome bonuses or some other different types of deals that were going on with that. But I did want to bring it to your attention for that, especially if you have the card, just to make sure to kind of look out for that. And I want to make sure to say hello to Ryan. Happy Friday to you too, sir. Excuse me. Thank you so much for taking the time to come in. Really appreciate it. And let's move on to our next topic, which is United and ITA Airways. Now, as you all probably know, ITA Airways is going to join Star Alliance next year in early 2026. Now, what United is doing, they're not going to wait until that partnership. Obviously, United is part of Star Alliance as well. So United is not going to wait to begin their partnership with ITA, and that will begin on September 15th, where the two will commence with a code share and loyalty partnership. Now, on the code share side for ITA, you'll end up seeing their code, which is AZ, and it's going to appear on United operated flights to select U.S. airports. So far, we know it includes Dallas, Fort Worth, Denver, and Houston. And the shared U.S. gateways that they have with ITA is Boston, Chicago, and Dallas, and Washington. Now, for the United code share portion, UA will appear on certain ITA flights, including those in Florence, Catania, Fontanarossa, probably didn't get that one right, in Turin Airport. Now, all of those are located in Italy. One good thing that we're definitely seeing is that the loyalty programs, is that the Volair loyalty program for ITA and the United's mileage plan members, you will be able to redeem and earn on each other's flights. We have not seen the numbers of what that will look like, but we know that that will be able to happen. And then as far as lounges, elite members will be able to use each other's lounges during this partnership. So if you're a person that is dealing with both of those airlines, this is a nice deal to be able to look at for them, especially when ITA is not going to be getting into Star Alliance for a little bit longer. Now, as far as Hilton, it's really unfortunate as far as what we're seeing with them. If you remember, Hilton had devalued their numbers back in May. Now, the notification of this current devaluation credit goes to some Reddit users as well as Danny the Deal Guru. Now, once again, it was only since May when Hilton did a devaluation. Now, at that time, we saw that their highest end locations went from 150,000 points to 200,000 points. And a couple of examples of those was that we saw 50,000 point increases with the Waldorf Astoria Maldives and the Waldorf Astoria Los Cabos Portugal, which is interesting for the Portugal because if you end up seeing online, there's a lot of talk about a lot of availability there. Well, the reason I'm saying this devaluation that just happened is worse is because it basically hit the same locations with these that had the devaluations the last time. So the Waldorf Astoria, Los Cabos Portugal, has gone from 140,000 points initially to 190,000 points back in May. And it has now gone up to 250,000 points, which is a 78% increase in just the last few months. South Bank in Turks and Caicos has gone from 130,000 before May to 180,000 to now 210,000 points. I'm not really sure how they're going to go work with this. I've not necessarily been a person. I still have a Hilton business card, don't really use it that much. And I've really have only stayed at Hilton's, maybe the LXR, when you talk about being in Vegas. That's about it. And oh, I'm sorry. And if I'm flying out to Las Vegas to stay at a actual Hilton the night before, but I don't normally stay there. The I guess this is going to probably lead people, if they really are interested in these high end ones. I think the Petrogal essentially almost starts at $1,000 a night, but can top out at nearly $2,500 a night, which then ties into that 250,000 points because of the dynamic pricing. But I think that what this is going to do is, if people are really interested in these high end locations for Waldorf Astoria, for example, I think that you're going to see more people play the game of getting more Aspire cards and figuring that even with that high price of the credit card, that they're going to be able to make it work with that free night award. So I'll be curious to see if we can find some data points as we move along with this, to see if we do hear about more people getting more Aspire cards, if possible, for being able to utilize with these devaluations that are going on, because those are really end up being very steep. Now let's move on to JFK's new Terminal 1. Now, we've definitely heard a lot about this new terminal. It is really supposed to revitalize and be a really big change and improvement for JFK. $9 billion is into this, and it is slated to open next year. So it's right around the corner. Now, and when it comes to lounges, there's going to be a lot of activity there. We already know about Turkish at 11,000 square feet is going to be one of the lounges. Qatar, 15,000 square foot. We also know that that's going to be one of the locations as far as like a premium level that they're going to be doing there. And then Korean has a 16,000 square foot lounge that's going to be going on there. Now, we did find out about 2 additional lounges. Now, they're both going to be ran by Plaza, but they're going to be different as far as what they are going to provide. The first one is going to be airside, which is past security, and it's going to be called Plaza Premium First. It is going to be 9,300 square feet, and it's going to be open 24/7, which is very interesting. It will offer a la carte dining, and they're going to have their infinity room, which is Plaza Premium's most exclusive offering. Now, I've been in Plaza Premiums, but I've not been in the infinity room. I'll be curious if any of you all have been in that, and what level are you seeing in that particular room for that. And then the second one is actually going to be landside, which is going to be before security, and it's going to be called just straight Plaza Premium. Now, it is on the smaller side at 4,200 square feet, but this is really meant for arrivals. So it will feature showers there, which can be for some of these long haul flights, where if you don't have status to be able to be in another lounge, then this could be something that's probably going to get a lot of attention. And it's going to be the only one at JFK for an arrival type lounge. And from what I've been reading, might be the only one in the United States as far as a regular lounge that is set up that way. Now, there is going to be one more lounge announced, but unfortunately, it will not be a credit card based or associated lounge. So there are no credit card associated lounges of all of the lounges that are going to go on in Terminal 1. Now, what we need to end up finding out, though, is we need to find out if we're going to end up seeing, not if we're going to end up seeing, what we're going to see as far as access. That has not been decided yet. Now, there's been talk as far as for the air side after the security that we may see where some airlines end up having potentially business or above class being able to have access to the Plaza Premium there. We also think there is also a possibility where Priority Pass may end up being involved because we do know there are some Plaza Premium locations that are part of Priority Pass. So we don't know about that. And then, of course, probably some day passes, or I'm sorry, not day passes for a full day, but passes to access it on a given day is going to be a possibility as well. So those are things that we're going to end up having to look at to see how that part plays out. But really a lot going on in there. I've actually only been to JFK one time, and it was to be at a Delta Sky Club while my missed a flight. So I'll be very interested to being able to see what this looks like. And if you're a regular in JFK, how excited are you about what might be going on in Terminal 1, and if you're going to be expect to be able to go through there? So I'm curious of people that normally do go through there. So make sure to let us know about that. And then let me talk about Avios as far as the new Avios tool that they have. Now, obviously, when it comes to Avios, we know that there's basically 7 airlines that utilize that currency: Aer Lingus, British Airways, Finnair, Iberia, Loganair, which is kind of a local there in Europe. I don't know if it's just Great Britain, but for them, Qatar, and then Vueling Club. Those are the 7 ones that use that currency. Now, previously, it's not necessarily been the easiest to maneuver with. So while there's been great to have these different options, there have been some speed bumps that have come with this. One of the things is that you cannot directly transfer Avios to Aer Lingus, Iberia, Loganair, or Vueling normally. You had to kind of do a workaround through British Airways' website, which was not always the easiest one to work with. Then, but now we have this revamped avios.com, which is supposed to be the one-stop place to do all your transfers on one platform. The one additional benefit that comes with this is that the Iberia Plus, they had a policy where you basically couldn't transfer within the first 90 days of opening your account with Iberia. That has now been removed. So that has been an excellent positive. So nothing but good things with it. The only potential downside, and I don't think it's really even a downside, is that people were basically going to talk to a live rep to do transfers. That has now been completely eliminated as an option. So, but hopefully that should not be a necessity anymore. But it's not, I've not done a transfer of Avios as of yet. So I've not necessarily kind of lived through the potential issues or problems that have come with that. I'm curious if you all have seen that happen. And so that would be what I would kind of throw out for that. Want to make sure to say hello to Call Me Lonnie. Appreciate you stopping in. The next three, basically excellent creator. Definitely check him out. I always talk about making sure to check. Very great sense of humor, and is really an easy to understand person when it comes to some of this stuff, because it's not always that way. Ian, appreciate you coming in. Thanks so much, sir. Matt, with the tidbits, just to stack your points. Another gives a lot of great daily content, so I definitely want to shout him out for that as well. Then and Matt said the new Avios tool looks cool. Haven't played with it yet. Yeah, I think that's going to be something for that. I hadn't messed with it yet. I don't have any Avios right now, but the points that I have with Mesa are more than likely going to go to Avios or Accor Live Limitless hotels. So it's something that I'm kind of looking at. Now, I do want to mention, because there's a lot being thrown out as far as this whole welcome bonus for Mesa. And let me see. Kalani said, "Did you get a new camera looking 4K?" You know what? What I did was tells you how ignorant I am of this whole setup, even doing this for a year, is that I ended up getting a new lens for the camera, and haven't even done the capture card to make sure it's in 4K yet. So appreciate you pointing that out. I'm still a work in progress when it comes to this stuff. So thanks so much for letting me know about that. It's good to hear about that. But let me say this about Mesa. They're kind of terming this welcome bonus with Mesa as far as up to 60,000 points with the card. Now, if you've watched my channel at all, you know that I'm a person that uses the Mesa card. I've been relatively happy with it. And I've done videos as far as my first 30 days with the card, my first 60 days with the card, and going over the kind of going a deep dive into the transfer partners. And I'll have links for those in the description. But to me, this is really not a welcome bonus. I mean, it sounds good to say it that way, but if you think about what you have to do to get there, first you end up having to get the card. Then you have to do 2 referrals to trigger the opportunity for that 50. And so when they say 60,000, if you do referrals, you normally can get 5,000 points for you and 5,000 points for the person that gets the card. I put my referral out there, and I don't normally say that because I'm so concerned at times of where if somebody does a referral with on my code, that something happens where there's a limitation on it. So everyone that's done it there, I believe they've gotten points, because if I get points, you get points too. But so they're counting that 60,000 points as 5,000 points for each of the referrals. So that's the 10,000 points. And then that triggers you to be eligible to get another 50,000 points if you spend $10,000 on the card within 3 months. Now, this is not just a welcome bonus offer, because it's one that I was just offered as well. So I could do the same thing. So it's not really a welcome bonus. And if you're a person that has people to refer to it, great. And but I think that the referral hurdle is kind of an issue there's going to be an issue for people to feel like of getting that, the access to that 50,000 points. And then I think the other issue is going to be, you're talking about $10,000 in spend in 90 days for 50,000 points. Now, once again, I'm a fan of Mesa. I actually just put a video out today on Mesa and Bilt, because they are still the only games in town for rent and mortgages to get points. But 50,000 points for $10,000 to spend, I think if you've got that kind of spend, there's a lot of other places you can spend your money at and get more bang for your buck. Look at what we just talked about, even if you're willing to do the business side. $900 or 90,000 points on Ink Business Cash. I did not get a welcome bonus with my Mesa card. I'm fine with the fact that I didn't get it. And just getting the multipliers has done enough for me to be happy with the card. So if you are looking at the card, I will have my referral link in the description, but be careful about looking at this 50,000 or 60,000 points as a welcome bonus. It's really not as cracked up as it might appear on the surface. So I just want to make sure of you all being aware of that. Matt had ended up saying, I may have been a little explosive, but the new referrals feel not great. Yeah, it's a thing where before I was doing, and probably for different creators that have done YouTube as well, if you weren't, I didn't really share referral links with friends and family, and not even just soliciting, just making them aware of it. So I think that's why I want to make sure people are aware. If you're interested in the Mesa card, great, get it. But that 50,000 and 60,000 points, I just don't see it being a good deal. Even if you get over the referral hurdle, 10 grand for 50,000 points. The transfer partners, which I'm hoping, if you're going to do something like that, is going to go towards your transfer partners. And they do have a few good ones, better than I anticipated when they first began. but it's not competing against the biggest ones, where with your $10,000 in spend, you can go a lot further. Whether it's the Chase Preferred, if you wanted to look at that, spend your money there. Get the Mesa card, but go ahead and spend that someplace else. So just wanted to make sure that I just want to make sure nobody was going to end up being able to do that, so that you're aware of it. And I see Lonnie said, yeah, lens does make a difference. Tells you how ignorant I was. I was just using the kit lens the entire time, and you get a slightly cheaper one than the very popular 1.4 lens. I forget what the name brand of it is, but I guess it's the most popular one. Wasn't willing to spend that kind of money, but pretty happy with this one. So thank you so much. And Matt said, welcome offers rather. Yeah, definitely the welcome offers. If you're open to getting additional cards, and everybody's got to figure out their own pace and pathway, but I'm just not spending $10,000 to get 50,000 points. It's just not worth it as much. So I just wanted to make sure to share that with everybody, so everybody was on the same page with it, on that. But definitely check out the video that I did with this. It's just really a reminder that as many idiosyncrasies as that Bilt has, and they'd have plenty of them, and we're going to have to see how that really turns out next year when we see the 3 credit cards and then moving to another bank, and their whole claim of getting into the housing business and mortgages by the end of the year. I think that got scrapped once the whole Wells Fargo thing went away. One other thing I wanted to raise about Mesa, just so that you're aware. I obviously have had a lot of questions as far as what kind of mortgages will they go ahead and give you points on. And every question that I've been asked, I've made sure to ask Mesa to make sure I had the definite information on it. The one thing that has started, though, and I'm sure it's not just for me, is I've been asked to provide my mortgage statement just so that they have it on record. Now, what's the reality of that? I don't think it's not about the dollar amount that you're spending, because they're just seeing that in the bank account as an expense. What they're probably trying to make sure of is that for people that are claiming these points for Mesa, that it is their mortgage, that it's not a friend, a parent, or someone else, which technically probably has happened to them over this period of time. And so it's kind of a reset for them. I'm not surprised by it. But if I give this kind of little fair warning, if you have a Mesa card, and if you are doing it on a potentially a home that is not in your name, you don't have to be the sole person. Someone asked me if, what if 2 people are on it? My wife and I are on our mortgage, and so there's not going to be any issue with that. But just be careful. I think that this is a due diligence situation for them, and I'm not surprised by it, but be aware of it so that you're not kind of blindsided by anything. And Ian said they found out half of the people that are getting points on mortgages don't actually have mortgages. They live in a college dorm or have an apartment. I'm sure that they have taken, when they go through this process, and I agree with you completely, Ian. This is definitely going to be something that they've gotten caught on. But the one thing I think that Mesa is probably pretty good about is I think they had a very good idea that if you're not checking on anybody, that these things have happened. But so it helped them to get their run to where they're at right now, and especially at a time where they jumped out in front when I originally didn't expect them to be the first to market with the mortgages. They got to be first to market. They've been the only person in the market now. And now they know that they're going to be able to probably go through the rest of this calendar year as the only game in town. So now is the perfect time for them to kind of tighten up their situation. And even if they take a hit on the amount of people that have the credit card, then now is the perfect time for them to go ahead and do it. Especially because I think there's going to be some people that may have gotten it for the mortgages and wanted to do it and ran it on an apartment or something. But I still go to the fact that those 3X categories have significant weight. And I'm a person that still has to do a little bit to get to that $1,000 in spend on that card. But if you got daycare, you just, I am so far removed from childcare, but I knew even back in the old days that childcare cost a heck of a lot of money. And to get 3X on that and to get towards that $1,000 spend, it's an automatic. But I think that the spend still makes it work, even though I have to struggle sometimes to get to the $1,000 when you're trying to maximize every point and every dollar you're trying to do. So I've still enjoyed the card, but I just wanted to share that with you on the welcome bonus, to be aware of that, and also to be aware of it as far as what mortgage where you're basically showing your points are from. And Points Blank Travel, appreciate you stopping in. Definitely check him out. He really does an excellent job. I watched his live stream. Really kind of gets into some topics that many of us, I won't say many of us, I'll say me, I'll speak for myself, on ones that I haven't necessarily jumped in so much. And so he really becomes a really smooth live stream to be able to watch, to learn about some different cards and some different strategies that I don't necessarily run as much. And so it's good to see. So definitely check out Points Blank Travel for that. So I want to make sure to say that. And so, yeah, Max saying, hey, Rod. So just wanted to kind of throw those things out there. Don't know if you all have any thoughts or concerns or things that we should touch on, but those are the main things I wanted to touch on with you all this evening. Lot going on, lot of bonuses that are out there. Just got my Atmos card for Alaska, so that $6,000 spend's got to get started, and see where that goes. But I look forward to being able to use that card as well. Probably will use it to fly Alaska to see from my home airport to Seattle for my trip to Taipei in February. But for me, and I've had what now is the Ascent card, which I don't use much for that, because I got that card when I didn't do my own due diligence and realized that my home airport only has one flight on Alaska per day, and it only goes to Seattle. So if I wanted to be able to utilize a certificate on the spend, I would have to go to Seattle and reposition myself. Haven't been willing to do it. So, but that's what we got for tonight. Thank you all so much for stopping out tonight. Cannot thank you all enough. Make sure to check out the video that I put out, and check the links for all of I'll make sure the links are updated probably about 15-20 minutes after this is over, for all of the ones that you may not have seen on this live stream, because once again, I try to pack it as much as I can. So thank you so much for everything. I'll talk with you all soon. Have a great evening wherever you are.